Welcome, everyone. We are a group of educators from the Ithaca City School District in lovely Finger Lakes, New York. 35 degrees this morning at my house. Still feeling the chill, so I'm going to keep my coat on this morning. And before we do formal introductions of the panel here, I actually want to give a little bit of a background of where we've been so that we can talk about where we are and where we're going. So I'm gonna do a quick screen share here and bring you to our CS at ICSD website. And on this website, the text is probably pretty small, so I'm gonna read to you our mission statement for computer science, which was developed in partnership with CS for All using their script program through a research practice partnership grant that we had. I think that was over 2 or 3 years. And so this was created and finalized in 2018. It reads, every ICS student across race, class, gender, language, and ability level will creatively and critically engage in representing and solving problems using computer science, computational thinking, and digital tools. We will empower students to develop these skills as they engage as learners, users, and creators of knowledge. We will do so through fostering an inclusive computing culture and collaborating around computers. So rather than just sharing with you about what this looks like, we're going to show you what this looks like. So Hopin has this feature where it can actually put in a YouTube link that allows for higher quality. So I'm going to pop a YouTube so you can see what computer science looked like in ICSD. This is from the 2018-19 school year.
Ready? One, two, three. We beat Millie and George. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
I've been teaching a very long time, and this is really the first year that I've seen kids see the success in seconds every day. And you see it with, I did it, Mr. Crawford.
These ones will turn, and then this will glide over here, and then it will disappear, then glide back, and then repeat 14 times. And I keep trying to do this.
Problem solved. Tolerate.
of the things that I've noticed is that most students, when they're starting out, their first orientation is to want it to come quickly and easily and go straight for teacher help. It's not working, fix it. And as we go through some of the unplugged activities and then move into Scratch Junior or other programs, I see their willingness grow to experiment and try to work together in groups and problem solve together, so that their tolerance for things not working quickly and easily increases. And after two experiences, they're off on their own, solving problems that I can't even begin to solve.
Partner your project where we're going to support you. But they can just want to in and share, we can start much more deeply or what the process is.
All right, so we're going to introduce ourselves and the panel that's been joining us this morning, and we'll start by sharing our names, our roles in computer science, and a favorite computer science activity. So I'll go ahead and start. My name is Matt O'Donnell. I'm an instructional tech specialist and computer science coordinator at Ithaca City School District, and this is kind of a lame favorite activity, but it's really any activity that where students have that aha moment around doing something magical in computer science. And so the two activities I'll share, this isn't for us, this activity's been around a really long time, but the Google CS First Animate a Name, our third graders, a lot of time that's their first Scratch experience. And so that's a lot of fun. And the second one was we were at a STEAM night last night, and we were doing some drawing with finches. I don't know if people can see this very well, but a student used a crazy repeat loop with just a small angle change and created this cool like spirograph using the finch. So that was a lot of fun. So Zach, do you want to come off mute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Lind. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Ithaca City School District. And I guess this maybe it's simple, but I always like using like B-bots with our youngest students. And when they first like learn to program them and you like send them out, we usually try to have them like knock over a marker or something like that that's 10 feet away. I've always enjoyed that because that's when you'll see that aha moment, and students will understand sort of that basics of programming something to get somewhere and execute a task. So simple, but I've always enjoyed that. And it's also something that's really easy for classroom teachers to replicate on their own. And we've had good feedback from that.
Thanks. Patty, you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. Thanks, Matt. My name is Patty Burr. I'm a first grade educator in Ithaca. And a favorite computer science activity that my class did last year was part of an integrated food justice case study. Students worked collaboratively with our art teacher to design different stations to take a tough bot in our first grade garden through the journey of how food gets from the farm to your table or to your supermarket. So the supermarket robot project was a huge highlight for me because it got kids working together, debugging and problem solving what would happen if their tough bot didn't go to the right location first. How could they work on debugging that and giving them the language to have those conversations, and then that journey of pride when their tough bot gets to where they want it to be. It was a really exciting integrated project.
Excellent. Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Ritz. I'm an instructional specialist for technology and digital fluency at CSD BOCES. And one of my favorite activities goes along with the one that Patty just mentioned. So we did a CS integration into the first grade food justice case study. And so we did that ToughBot supermarket robot lesson. We did some design challenges. We did a virtual field trip to a dairy farm to learn about technology there. And then the culminating activity was creating digital artifacts that we used while we were working with the Tompkins Food Future group. And one of the artifacts that they created was a South Hill Changemakers podcast, and that podcast was played at the legislative meeting and helped get this Tompkins Food Future food system plan passed. So it was really this authentic way for students to see how CS can really help them be change makers in their community.
Thanks, Kelly. And Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg. I'm a elementary school librarian at Ithaca City School District. I think one of my favorite computer science activities I did the last 2 years with fourth graders, and it was basically where they researched a change maker, and then they made a paper mache version of that change maker, but we had to they had to code in Scratch for their change maker to talk and tell them about themselves. And then we used a circuit board or Makey circuit board so that when you touched buttons on their little paper mache character, the character would tell you about themselves. But it was really fun. Mostly the kids really liked the Scratch coding part where they could make their character as like exciting and detailed as they wanted, or keep it simple, and they had fun with paper mache, which is always like gross and fun. So yeah.
Thanks, Meg. So I'm also representing the middle school level. I teach a 6th grade computer science class at DeWitt Middle School, and our high school representative unfortunately got called to jury duty this morning and isn't able to make it. So Zach's going to be talking a little bit about our secondary initiatives in answering these questions and district level. So our first question for panelists here is, what are some key learning experiences in your grade level bands that you're working in? Feel free to unmute and answer that.
I'm happy to start. Digital literacy skills for young learners is so important. Last year, we had a series of lessons that we designed with Kelly on how to interact respectively with peers using digital tools. And it culminated in students creating a music video for the school about how to interact responsibly and respectfully online. And that was a lot of fun to be able to share. And the kids loved playing it back and singing along and really being leaders in our community to share digital literacy knowledge.
From the middle school perspective, the class that we're teaching focuses on using physical computing with microbits. So some of those like key experiences are honestly when students take what they did on a screen and actually get it onto their physical microbit and are unplug it, and they've got the battery pack and they're holding it and they're shaking it, and they're probably dropping it too. But it's that time that they really are able to like touch the computer science that they're doing. So those are some key middle school learning experiences. The other thing related to that is we do get to talk a lot about like ethics at the middle school level. Students are starting to understand that what they program and create can have impact on other people.
I'll talk a little bit about the high school. One of the interesting things that I think is happening and we will continue to see is the shift in skill sets, right? So like what we had to start teaching at ninth grade is actually, as we've developed capacity in a sort of K-12 CS environment, what skills our students are walking in with as ninth graders, it's shifting, right? So we don't have to do as much of the basics of like what is programming. Students are coming in with that sort of that knowledge already. So things that we're seeing a lot of at the high school level, we've always had programming courses. So we're seeing more of that. And the big focus area is creating more sort of day-to-day applicability, making it less sort of dry and more more connected to actual tangible things and outcomes. And then in our technology education courses, students are working through sort of engineering. We use Project Lead the Way, and a lot of that's culminating with some like engineering and design courses where CS is integrated into large scale projects. And then also at the secondary level, we have a pretty robust sort of code red robotics program. And we have, it's had a lot of success over the years. And I know our technology education teachers can speak more specifically to that, but it's a pretty robust program that's been, sort of a highlight of our secondary.
Meg, you have a little bit of a unique perspective, having kindergarten through fifth grade. Do you want to share a little bit about like elementary big computer science learning experiences?
Sure. I think, this year I'm trying to do something different for each grade level. Last year, key experience for fifth graders was when they got to 3D model in Tinkercad. The challenge was for them to create their own currency. And like, it was cool because it was a whole, like, what gives something value, what makes something valuable, and what does value look like to them. And then what they modeled, we 3D printed, and it was cool because the thing that they made like online in this virtual space became real. And it's something they could hold in their hands, and they got to troubleshoot all the different issues that you have with 3D printing, and they really enjoyed that, and that was cool. Fourth grade, we did the biography bottle project, or the talking biographies, and that was really neat. Third grade, we did these Ozobots, where they had to, we read the Scaredy Squirrel story, and they had to engineer their little robots' responses to different things in its way and on its path. Second grade, we did squishy circuits, and we learned like the basics of circuitry, and we also did Scratch Junior coding stories, and that was really fun and super accessible. They loved making animated stories. And then kindergarten and first grade, we did these tough bots, and those were really fun because it was actually pretty fun because the plans that I hadn't worked out exactly. And so we made up this whole game where they had to run over coins and gems that I had and collect them to earn like ducks and things. And if they ran over a monster that they had drawn on the sidewalk, they would lose all their coins. Like, it was just really neat to see kids all have a jumping off point, and then they could like make it their own and debug and figure it out and do their own thing. And I think that's what I liked the most about all the different activities.
I love walking into Meg's library and seeing like 4 3D printers going at all times. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. So our next question deals with, so I saw Diane Levitz, who's on here. I saw her comment that access is not equity. And I completely wholeheartedly agree with that. So what are some things that we do within our computer science practice to support learning, computer science learning for each and every student, particularly those that are underrepresented in computing?
I'll jump in on this one. One thing that we've done was focus on elementary schools, and starting that learning at a young age for everybody. And one activity that we did last year that was really powerful was we had the computer science club from the high school come and visit the first grade classes at the elementary school, and they brought a really great unplugged Code Your Friend activity where they had tape on the floor, and we had to code our friends using step-by-step, very precise directions to make it through that maze. But I thought it was really powerful seeing older students in their school district community excited about computer science, and really it was a diverse group, so it was great for students to see others that look like them and really have that idea that I can be a computer scientist. This is something that I can explore, and have an idea of what that could look like as they got older. So I think that exposure at a really young age is really important.
I'll jump in here from like a bigger picture. The first thing I want to say is that I think we'd be disingenuous if we said that we are doing this effectively at scale. This is why we're doing this work. This is like, you know, we're making incremental progress, but it's not something we've successfully, like, we haven't unlocked any code. It's just, so what have we done? It's lots of conversations. Like, I went to into our community centers in the summers and talked with students and community members about computer science and what's important to them, and what will get folks to become more engaged, or where they see a need, or just trying to raise awareness. So I think a lot of it is also like having lots of small conversations with lots of different folks, particularly those that don't show up in conversations normally, or show up to conferences like this. We want to draw those folks in. We sort of have these internally when our teams meet, we talk a lot about like sort of changing mindsets of our different stakeholders, and increasing sort of what we call like CS positivity, like just awareness and higher levels of engagement. So it's kind of like seeding lots and lots of opportunities, much like Matt referenced earlier. He was running a STEM night, right? And you talk, you throw out ideas, you connect with community members, you connect with folks that haven't engaged, and try to sort of build and grow it from there.
Any other thoughts about specifically how we're supporting underrepresented populations in computing?
I have one more thing. The other thing is asking our students that represent these populations. We need to go directly to them. It's both irresponsible and inappropriate for us to assume what those students think or do not think about computer science. I mean, I actually think we fall into that trap sometimes of being like, oh, these students didn't take this course because assumption that I'm making. But like myself as a white male in a entirely different age group, that's a real mistake for us to make. So you have to be sort of self-reflective. Bring those students in, ask them, try to hold focus groups. So that's one of our focus areas going forward this year. Is, I don't want to jump too far ahead, I'm sure we're going to talk about that, but like bringing in students from who haven't been in computer science experiences, who decided to opt out of our computer science tracks or opportunities, and figuring out why that is. What is it that, what barriers or gatekeeping did we either intentionally set up, unintentionally set up, or, what were the, like the microaggressions that drove them out, and trying to sort of learn from that and disrupt it.
Another key move that we try to create for students is really that like low barrier to computer science activities. So one teacher and curriculum developer that I really value is Douglas Kiang. And Douglas introduced the idea of beyond the birdhouse. And if you might find something about that if you Google it. We saw him at ISTE back in 2018. And it's really resonated that it's around using project-based learning with computer science. But the most key piece that continues to stick with me is that just about any computer science concept can be introduced without using a screen, because often when you introduce a screen, that can even be an intimidating move for students who haven't had access to computing a lot of their lives. So initiating projects with unplugged pieces, but also the other element of that is to have projects where students can create their own relevance. Sort of like what Zach was saying, is we can't assume that what we're designing for them is relevant. So we have to design curriculum that where they are able to create their own relevance as well.
Matt, can I jump in here?
Yeah.
Another, I think, powerful piece for our first graders was choice. I mean, never underestimate the power of choice, the way in which a student, even our youngest learners, wants to represent their knowledge. So, you know, Kelly talked about for our food justice offering choice between creating a comic strip, a podcast, interviewing someone for the podcast, or a mural. So there are multiple access points. Some are using devices and some are totally unplugged, but really inviting students to make the choice that is most engaging to them. And then I think circling back to them, students have a reason why they chose what they chose, and circling back, you might learn something about them as learners.
So a lot of people here at the summit are, Chris, that's Douglas Kiang. I'll pop that name in chat. Douglas Kiang. And he wrote the Intro to Computer Science using microbit curriculum, which is amazing. So our next question, a lot of people are here for because they're passionate about computer science, but there's also a lot of people here that are aware of the new computer science and digital fluency standards. So I wanted to ask the panel here, how have the computer science and digital fluency standards both driven and changed your practice related to computer science?
I can go. I think it was helpful. I met with Kelly and we looked at some of the things that we're already doing across the district. And we compared like what are some holes that we have in what we're already doing, and what do we need to incorporate or add to meet. And I think something that was really enlightening was a lot of the standards we were already meeting. If we looked at the lessons that we were doing and activities that we were doing, and I think that kind of changed my practice and feeling a little bit more confident, knowing that you're probably already doing a lot of the standards and just haven't sat down and looked at the things that you're already doing and recognize all the things that you're already accomplishing with the computer science you're already incorporating. So I think doing that gap analysis with Kelly was helpful, but also it was helpful in making me feel a little more confident going forward.
I'll piggyback off of that and say that the computer science and digital fluency standards examples is a really powerful document that I've shared with a lot of teachers to do exactly what Meg was saying, of seeing you're already doing so much of this. I'm thinking at the elementary level, thinking about decomposing, and even in kindergarten, first grade, you're doing a lot of decomposing in math, and there's a lot of like carryover and just being more intentional with how you're teaching. But teachers who aren't comfortable with computer science at all, it's really nice for them to see those content connections and how they're already doing a lot of this and can kind of build off of what they're already doing.
I'll add from a larger picture, by having the computer science standards sort of like coming into our sort of educational sphere, it adds a sort of legitimacy to what we are doing. So like several years ago when we started this work, when we would talk about computer science, it was seen as largely as like a tertiary accessory to what we're trying to do in the educational spaces, right? A lot of folks hadn't made those connections. But as you have a set of state standards, that are coming online, when in conversations with other district stakeholders, when we reference that, like, hey, we're going to have to plan this out because we got to, these state standards are coming, it makes folks that maybe aren't in with the day-to-day and understand the nuances of what we're trying to do, it makes them sort of like, just, it gives that legitimacy to what we're trying to do. And when we think about the work we need to do to build computer science at scale, and the let's be honest, the politics within school districts and within BOCES, within state, to get this done, having a set of state standards that you can point to allows us to sort of move that work along in a more expeditious fashion.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Zach's saying, that it's no longer like we're going rogue and doing computer science activities with small pockets of teachers. It's that it's something that we're all going to be expected to implement in the next couple of years. So it's awesome. I'm curious from the panel, what have been some impactful professional learning or learning experiences for you that have led to some of these impactful experiences for students?
I think for us last year, having an instructional technology specialist 1 day a week to join us in our co-planning time to help us with the intentionality of the computer science learning targets and understanding it's not an extra. It may be something that we're doing already, but how can we elevate that in our own teaching practice, but also make it explicit for our young learners was really important. It felt like training wheels and gaining confidence for our teaching. And then this year, we're able to kind of take the training wheels off a little and just more of a consultation experience with Kelly and see, is this something that's sustainable? So we're excited to see what this year holds, but having those training wheels to build confidence and maybe be bolder and try some new things, take some risks that we otherwise might not have had the confidence to take.
I would say in terms of professional learning opportunities, just getting as many folks as we can in a room, pushing into staff meetings and having staff just engage with basic activities on their own. Like adults can have aha moments too, right? So like if we can have that, we can ignite some joy at the end of a long teaching day at a staff meeting, like, and then plant the seed in the mind of a teacher or whichever stakeholders in the room, that can be really effective in terms of moving this work along. So that's always been a tactic that we use.
I think something valuable for me for opportunities was a lot of different opportunities to collaborate. I really appreciated when we had tech integration specialists come into the library, like Patty was saying. That was really helpful in building what we have and getting new ideas. But also like a couple different workshops and opportunities that I went to. I went to ISTE conference and an Infosys conference, and we had this Technologia thing at BOCES where you got to try different tools and share with each other. And I think sometimes we get really isolated in our own individual world, and there's some lesson that a teacher would like to spice up with some technology, and like I'm fresh out of ideas. And it's nice to be able to go back to some of those people that I've networked with or some of those experiences, and like there's a gold mine of connections and information and new tools that you've run across going to those things. So I think taking the opportunities when they're presented to get together with colleagues or people in your same interest area has really been beneficial to me when I need to come up with something new, or just like I want to do something different.
And I'll also do a little plug for CSTA as well. So there's the CSTA conference that happens in July, which is it's just like overwhelming how awesome it is. And they also have their summits that are online, and CSTA premium members have access to all those recordings, which are such an amazing resource as well. I was super excited for ISD and Philly for the Northeast folks this year too. Yeah. So we've got about 7 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we're covering everything that we're hoping to today. I'm going to take an asset-based approach for this one, and we're not going to talk about barriers today. So I'm going to wrap up with one last question about what advice would you give teachers who are CS curious in your specific grade level bands, and what does the future of CS look like for you and your students?
I can start from a big picture. So I'd give advice from like a large scale is that progress is not linear. We take, I don't know, 5 steps forward, 3 steps back. Like we're all over the place. But what I try to do is look at like, where were we 1, 2, 3 years ago? And so that's always take that big picture. And then, from that big picture, we trying to build the systems, trying to figure out, how, if we go back to our mission and vision statement concepts of just like, how are we being sure to provide those experiences to all of our students, and really coming back to that and valuing it. So big picture, it's a lot about developing the system, being okay with the setbacks, taking negative sort of things that didn't work and taking that as feedback of like, all right, well, it probably didn't work. Let's figure out why, unpacking that, and pivoting as needed. And then also finding really good folks that care, and then getting them on board. That's really important as well.
I'll just add critical partners. Absolutely, yeah. Other advice for teachers that are CS curious and the future of CS for you and your students?
I would say my advice for CS curious teachers would be asking for student feedback. That was a big part of what we did at the end of the CS pilot. And I think that there were some surprises of maybe units or lessons that teachers maybe weren't as crazy about, and they really made a big impact on students. So I think as much feedback as you can get from your class or from your school or from your district on what really made an impact on students for CS is a really great place to start.
I think starting small and growing big, choosing one area that I really want to start and establishing a routine and integrating CS and really elevating those standards. And also knowing it's okay to model the debugging things. If I'm teaching a lesson and it doesn't go right the first time, maybe my lesson is also modeling perseverance and how to debug that. And those are really great teachable moments too.
I guess my advice would be, and I guess it's kind of like from a librarian side too, is just to give it a try, because you might find, it's kind of how I try and sell kids on books too, is like, just try it out. You might find something that you really like. And don't be scared if it doesn't work out exactly the way you want it to. A lot of times something that I thought was going to work out really well and be this big, powerful lesson changed completely, and it was powerful in a different way. And like Patty was saying, it was really powerful when kids can see maybe something doesn't work out exactly the way you want it. And when kids can see that you debug and work past a failure, I think that's also something that's really powerful. but just like give it a shot. And if you don't feel confident, also reach out to other people that you feel are a good partner too to struggle with, you know. Yeah, I would say biggest advice is just go for it. You might find something that is really powerful and you really enjoy.
And I'll close out by saying I think that both with adult learners and student learners, there is a place in computer science for everyone. And so having folks realize that there is a part of computer science that they can be passionate about, and helping students uncover those areas where their identities can be both validated and supported within the computer science community is such a huge thing. So that's how I'm trying to push my practice with my middle school students, is helping them. Like, you can get so much in the weeds when you're like programming something, that always having that opportunity to step back and think about how this might be applicable or relevant to students' multiple identities as they're navigating middle school and understanding their own identities, that computer science can be a piece of it as well. So we are out of time today. All of our contact information is in our profiles. Feel free to reach out with any questions. I apologize that we didn't have any extra time for questions, but I just want to say thank you, Zach. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Meg. I think just about everyone is getting right back to teaching today, so it's exciting. Happy Friday for everyone. Stay warm and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thanks again.